Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here to chat and to connect with you all today and throughout this week. Thank you so much for such the kind introduction. Before we get into all of the important stuff, I wanted to just kind of give you guys a quick background about me and what I do in my role at Virgin Voyages. So, as mentioned just a little bit earlier, I lead a fantastic team of analysts and developers who come to work every day focused on the end-to-end full sailor experience. We like to say that we manage all of our direct-to-consumer channels, or for us, we call them direct-to-sailors. So you guys are all sailors. We're all, hopping on the ship now. And so throughout that, we really think about that end-to-end experience. We start with acquisition, nurturing, once somebody books with us, what that experience feels like. We then go into, after they sailed, post-voyage. We handle all of our first mate or travel agent communications, also onboard spend, all of the things, you name it. I think that while most other cruise lines, some of our friends may have a team for each one of those categories that I just mentioned, we have a really unique opportunity to kind of take in and hone all of those experiences. And that kind of just naturally happens when you're the new kids on the block, right? And on a more personal note, I think I just wanted to share one thing that's really kind of shaped my career and kind of molded me into where I am now is my very strong and long background in cheerleading and sports and events. It's actually where I started my marketing career and where I found my passion for really amplifying brands' voices. And I think that we kind of all have this similar interest here in this room because we kind of are all those cheerleaders in a way. We amplify our brand's voices. We encourage those connections. We, provide those meaningful experiences between our customers and then what we're putting out into the world. So I think at heart, I still kind of find myself being that person, but now for my brands. And to jump into next, just a little bit about Virgin Voyages. So as you can imagine, being this new exclusively adult cruise line that has launched in the midst of a global pandemic over these past 3 years, it's been a very interesting and unique experience I will probably take life lessons from and bring with me for my entire career. But a little bit more about us. Like I said, we are a premium cruise experience, and we're proud to now have 3 ships sailing in the water. One out of Miami, one out of Barcelona, and then more recently, one out of Athens just this past month. And we're just available in here for every type of traveler, whether you're a foodie, you're a gamer, you're one to relax and spend time with your partner. We just want to make sure that we are providing that experience that you'll want to come back again and again. So to kind of tie all of this together and why we're here today, I wanted to talk about just the heart of our discussion. So when I first was asked to present at the Think Summit, I couldn't help but kind of tie some parallels between, captains and the way that they navigate their waters and us as marketers, because it sometimes feels like we are on this helm of this great kind of email ship. I'm sure I feel like no matter what industry you're in, it could be retail, it could be sports, it could be travel, like myself. We probably have all found ourselves at that great email ship kind of navigating the waters. So with all of that in mind, I wanted to share 3 concrete examples of how we've navigated our waters. And I think that regardless of your industry or where you are in your marketing journey, these will be things that you can take back to your own teams going forward. So up first, we have automation. When I first joined the team at Virgin Voyages, we were sailing, like I said, in largely uncharted waters in terms of automation. Our communications were fundamentally manual. We really were going in one by one pre-voyage and sending each individual message that we had to send to our sailors before they hopped on board. Prior to our initial sailings, we had that manual experience and it just wasn't the best for them and just led to the potential for human error for us. So to add to that challenge, when I first started, I was informed that we were going to be migrating ESPs, which I'm sure others in this room have gone through before. It's just kind of a unique experience, to say the least. But in our first year, as we migrated onto our new ESP, we focused heavily on automation. We set up more than 60 message journeys that were tailored by ship and by itinerary. We had a full welcome series from end to end. We had a booking hold journey established, and Just to kind of call out a few highlights here, it's just we never could have done any of this without Movable Inc. With one developer and a very small team, they allowed us to be really nimble and to adapt and change as we went forward. Just to call out a couple highlights as well, like our click-through rates for our welcome series was like above 10%, and even all of our pre-voyage communications. We've even actually been told before that pre-voyage people will get butterflies in their stomachs because they're getting so excited for their upcoming experience just from reading our emails, and we know that that's a powerful tool. And so some of these key learnings and taking things back to your own businesses, the first thing I would say is to seize opportunities during transitions. If you're migrating to a new ESP, changing your leadership, revamping your branding, or maybe it's nothing at all, but you're just feeling kind of stagnant in where you are, it doesn't hurt to just kind of start again, pull out the whiteboard and map things out from end to end. And that's truly what we did. We kind of put ourselves, in our sailor's shoes to figure out what that experience would look like. Next, we have building a strong foundation and gradually scaling from there. I would say that, a solid foundation, of course, kind of minimizes room for error, and it streamlines those key communications. So we started with those business critical communications, tested and learned, and then kind of scaled up from there. And then lastly, strategic personalization and being able to constantly adapt. As I mentioned before, we really thought about setting that robust infrastructure as we continue to grow and scale. And I kind of like to think about personalization as your friend, right? So the more interactions that you have with a friend, the more you're gonna get to know about them, and that's how we wanna be as a brand as well. So just like your friend wouldn't forget, your favorite glass of bubbly, maybe your bucket list travel destination, we wanna act as that best friend for our sailors. And so then, just to kind of go ahead and jump into our next example, I have a space to innovate. And so creating space for your team to really make waves and make a difference. As I'm sure, again, many of you can relate to in this room, we are inundated with requests sometimes from areas across the business, from sales or revenue or maybe our first mates team. And so as much as we'd love to be able to support every single one of these requests, it's a challenge sometimes to do with a small team. Because of this, I think that our challenge often lies in just being able to elevate our focus away from those kind of whirlwinds of the day-to-day operations and, focus on long-term technological enhancements. I think that for our team, it's easy to abide sometimes by if it isn't broken, don't fix it, but there definitely is probably always room for improvement and ways to just make a difference. So an example of this and what we worked on was our live pricing initiative. So this was a collaborative endeavor here that I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to the Movable Inc. team for, Lauren and Frankie and Patrick. It definitely was a labor of love between us and other members of our team and then the Movable Inc. team, but the results have honestly been incredible. As you can see here, these are our itinerary cards, as we call them, and they live in all of our promotional emails across the board. I think they've been sent out tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of times since the beginning of the year at this point. And everything that you see is all dynamically pulled in from our website. So the itinerary name, the number of nights, the pricing that's ever changing by the hour. It also allows us to display messaging in the sailor's correct currency, which for us as a new brand, when we know limited things about our sailors, this gave us an opportunity to tap into that personalization for some of our new leads. And yeah, they are used every single day. I think we've made, 100 iterations of here, if not more, and it's just allowed for our developers to help us scale. And if we can just jump on to the next slide. There we are, okay. Awesome. So from there, like I said before, creating space for innovation. I think it's so important, no matter what project you're working on, give yourself and your teams time to focus on those long-term technological enhancements. I also think it's really important to just allow yourself time from a creative perspective. So one thing that we do is we work very closely with our creative studio team to make sure that we're leveraging all of the content to the best of our ability. We're reusing, retesting, retweaking things, and just working together for the common cause. And lastly, I think it's just important to leverage whatever data you can, especially as a relatively new business and as a relatively small team. Even just having that one extra additional touch point can make all of the difference in your communications. And then lastly, to go ahead and jump into our final example for today, I have recognizing loyalty. And so for this one, I just wanted to talk about the emphasis of the power of recognizing and celebrating those loyal brand advocates. As a sailor now, after you get off the ship post-voyage, we have this kind of follow-up communication journey where our team is committed to just continuing to deliver that premium experience for you. With the support of Movablink's technology, we've been able to design a personalized follow-up experience where we gather feedback, we ask for reviews, we encourage others to help make the brand famous by writing about us, and just upholding that connection, like I said before. We also have established these very unique sailor tiers, as we call them, which by virtue of being early adopters, maybe top spenders, they have this said status with us. And this commitment is just rewarded by certain things like generous perks post-voyage, discounts on your next sailing, and even sometimes some kind of surprise and delights. And so, however, we are also fully aware as the new kids on the block that this is by no means our full-fledged loyalty program, and we're kind of just in the infancy of what this looks like. So it's important for us to really recognize and reward those sailors and talk to them in a different way every single touch point that we can. So as we continue to grow and scale as a business, they're continuing to participate in that journey along with us. And then compared to our regular sends, something that includes mention of, I said, these tiers, or Sea Blazers, Sea Rovers, we typically see at least a 30% open rate increase, and then an additional 15 percentage point lift in all of our click-through rates. This is exciting for us because they're the people that know us and love us, so we want to be able to tailor those communications to them. And so the key learnings that we've taken back from this, first is recognizing and rewarding loyalty. Like we've heard in some of the earlier presentations from today, this not only builds that strong relationship, but it encourages your customers to come back again and again, and to never just underestimate the perks of having that kind of surprise and delight moment. The next one that we have is adopting a customer-centric listening strategy. So at Virgin, we discovered very early on that this key group of people wanted to hear more from us. So we listened to them, we designed campaigns tailored to them, and we actually even used those audiences to test new things. So is it a new promotion in the market? Is it a new offering that we want to put out there, some sort of surprise onboard experience? We utilize them to tell us what they want so we can just continue to learn more from them. And lastly, I think I said this one before, but championing your data-informed decisions. I think it's so important to just be, best friends with whoever it is that is leading your data and marketing technology, or even just being under the same house altogether. So to kind of recap, I think that it's important to just touch on our main key themes from today. The first one is, of course, automating, and like I mentioned before, seizing opportunities for improvement during those transition times, building a strong foundation and gradually kind of scaling up as you go, and then aiming for long-term personalization and being ready and able to constantly adapt as new technologies get thrown your way. Under innovate, allocating time for long-term projects, and knowing that your team is going to enjoy those the most in the long run. It's the things that we use the most, it's the thing that we see the greatest lift from, and it's honestly the projects that our team is the most proud of. The next one is just embracing collaboration with different teams, whether it be working with your web developers to get your API calls set up with Movable, or if it's the studio team to work on your creative variations. And then lastly, leveraging all of the data points that you can. And finally, under recognizing loyalty, it's important to, again, lean into those brand advocates, use them, talk to them, make sure that you're taking in all of those cues, adopting a customer-centric strategy and just using feedback to guide that approach, and then again, being best friends with that data marketing lead. So to kind of close things out, I hope that some of these insights that I'll carry on with me throughout my career has helped you throughout this session or throughout this week. Once again, I just want to give a big shout out to my Movable Inc. team. They have been so fantastic with all of your endless support. And again, to kind of close, early on I mentioned that my background in cheerleading and events has kind of shaped my career, and I feel like we're kind of all cheerleaders for our brands, but I also kind of want to turn that focus and say, I'm personally cheering for all of you guys and your brands. So if there's anything that you need, or if you have questions or want to continue the conversation, I'll be here all throughout the day and throughout this week. So thank you guys again, and I hope that you all have a great lunch and great rest of the day.